Hey there and welcome. So you're starting out as a teacher, and I know your head is probably spinning with lesson plans, classroom decorations, and just trying to remember all those names. But today, we're going to hit pause on all that and talk about the one tool that will guide you through everything, your educational philosophy. This is all about finding the why behind what you do.
All right, let's just jump right into the deep end with the biggest question there is. And I'm serious, just take a second to think about it. What is the real point of education? Is our job just to pass down facts? Or are we here to help fix society's problems? Maybe it's to help every single kid discover who they are. Whatever your gut answer is, that's the foundation for everything you'll do in the classroom. And that's exactly why this matters so much. Your philosophy, it's your compass. When you're lost in the weeds of day-to-day teaching, and trust me, you will be, this compass points you back to your true north. It's the reason you choose one book over another, the way you handle a classroom disruption, even how you decide to grade an essay. It keeps you consistent, and it keeps you purposeful.
So, to help you actually build that compass, we're going to unpack the 4 big foundational philosophies of education. Now, think of these like a toolkit filled with powerful ideas. You don't have to just pick one and stick with it, but you absolutely have to know what they are to build your own unique approach to teaching.
First up, we've got perennialism. The big idea here is that education should be all about cultivating the mind. How? By focusing on timeless, universal truths. We're talking about the great books, the classics of Western literature and philosophy. The teacher isn't just a lecturer, they're more of an intellectual coach, using questions, Socratic style, to push students to think really deeply about ideas that have mattered for centuries.
Next up is essentialism, and this is probably the one you're most familiar with. It's the traditional backbone of many schools. Essentialism is all about passing down a core set of essential knowledge, skills, and values from one generation to the next. The main goal? To create productive, knowledgeable citizens. In this model, the teacher is the expert, the authority figure at the front of the room delivering a very structured curriculum. And then you have progressivism, which pretty much flips the whole script. Championed by the legendary John Dewey, this philosophy is all about the student. It says that real learning doesn't happen from listening to a lecture, it happens by doing. We're talking about experiments, field trips, group projects, and solving real problems. The teacher steps back from the spotlight and becomes a facilitator, a guide helping students explore what they're curious about.
And our final one is social reconstructionism. Now, this is the most activist of the bunch. It looks at the world's problems like inequality, poverty, or environmental issues, and says the classroom should be the place where we start to fix them. A social reconstructionist teacher doesn't just want students to learn about the world, they want to empower them to go out and change it, turning the classroom into a launchpad for social action.
Okay, let's just pause and look at this chart for a second, because it really lays it all out. Look at the huge differences here. The whole purpose of school for a perennialist is to build intellect, but for a social reconstructionist, it's to rebuild society. The teacher's role bounces from being the authority in essentialism to a facilitator in progressivism. And what you teach could be anything from ancient Greek philosophy to the social issues in today's news. As you look at this, can you feel yourself starting to lean one way or another? Now here's the thing. These aren't just dusty old theories from a textbook. These ideas have actively shaped the schools we all went to, and they're shaping the one you're about to teach in. So let's take a quick walk through history to see how this all played out.
Way back in the colonial era, American education was super perennialist. It was all about classical texts and religious training, mostly for the wealthy elite. Then, in the 1800s, guys like Horace Mann came along with the Common School movement, which was very essentialist. They argued that everyone needed a basic public education to be a good citizen. Fast forward to the early 1900s, and John Dewey crashes the party with progressivism, shifting the focus to the child. And of course, landmark moments like Brown versus the Board of Education, that's social reconstructionism in action, the belief that schools must be a force for social justice and equity.
Okay, theory and history are great, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How does some big, abstract idea actually show up in your classroom on a random Tuesday? The simple answer is everywhere. It's in everything you do.
Think about these core principles of American schools. A social reconstructionist will view equity as their primary mission, actively working to tear down unfair systems. A progressivist will zero in on nurturing individual potential, designing lessons that cater to each kid's unique talents. An essentialist might argue that preparation for democracy is the most important thing, making sure everyone shares a common base of civic knowledge. See, your philosophy is the lens through which you see and prioritize everything.
And here is a perfect concrete example: report cards. Think about it. An essentialist teacher needs a clear measure of who has mastered the core content, so they're probably going to use traditional A, B, C letter grades. It's clear, it's standardized, but a progressivist teacher cares more about the student's individual journey, so they're much more likely to write a detailed narrative evaluation describing that student's personal growth, their struggles, and their breakthroughs. It's the same task, grading, but with two totally different outcomes, all driven by philosophy.
All right, now it's your turn. We've gone through the theories, the history, and the real-world practice. Let's take just a minute for a little self-reflection to see where you might naturally fall on this philosophical map.
And hey, no pressure here. Seriously, this isn't a quiz with right or wrong answers. Just go with your gut. The whole point is just to start noticing what you already believe about teaching and learning.
So, first question. To you, what is the absolute essence of education? Is it A, developing a student's reason and intuition? Is it B, fostering their personal growth? C, making sure they have critical knowledge and skills? Or is it D, empowering them with choice? Just pick the one that resonates the most.
Okay, next question. Think about yourself in the classroom. What's your role? Are you A, the intellectual disciplinarian, pushing for rigor? B, a guide and advisor walking alongside the student? C, a presenter of values? Or D, the responsible authority who stands as the expert in the room? Again, just what feels right.
So let's see where those gut reactions might be pointing. If you found yourself picking B for essence, growth, and B for your role, guide, you're probably leaning towards progressivism. If you chose A and A, you're aligning with the ideas of perennialism. And if you picked C and D, you're likely in that essentialist camp. Now, obviously, this is just a quick snapshot, but it's a really interesting place to start your reflection, right?
But here is probably the most important thing I can tell you today. You are not meant to fit neatly into one box. Not at all. The best teachers out there are an eclectic mix. You might love the hands-on projects of progressivism, but also believe deeply in the essentialist idea that every kid needs to master basic math facts. Your philosophy isn't something you decide on once and carve in stone. It's a living, breathing thing that will and should change and grow right along with you.
I just love this quote. The art of teaching is the art of assisting discovery. Because at the end of the day, that's what unites all of these approaches. Whether you're helping a student discover a timeless truth in a classic book, a passion for science through an experiment, or their own power to make the world a better place, you are an assistant to their discovery.
And so, as you start this incredible journey, I want to leave you with one final question to carry with you. When you stand in front of your students, will your classroom be a place that simply prepares them for the world as it is? Or will you empower them to imagine and to help build the world as it could be? Your answer to that question will define the kind of teacher you become. You've got this.